Happy Tuesday. Well, here we are, week 3, standing firm together. Good job. I know this is not easy, but when we stay committed to this work, it truly works. And for those of you that are committed, you're already likely feeling better and you're seeing more clearly. And as I was preparing this week's lesson, I got exceptionally passionate about it because it really speaks to the challenges I've had in my life and how I have overcome them with getting the gifts that they came to give me. I just love these lessons and these exercises so much. Okay, so last week we explored the elements of the hero's journey and how they reflect in our own journey. We started by talking about the departure. That you hear the call, you leave some version of your life, your old life, and then you embark on an adventure, either willingly or reluctantly. And then we talked about the initiation, that you cross this threshold and you embark on the road of trials. And the trials seem bigger than you, and yet they reveal parts of yourself that you had no idea existed. And then lastly, we talked about the return, that the journey changes you. You return as a different person. And then I invited you to write your own hero's journey. For the departure, what is it that you left behind on your journey? With the initiation, as you walked the road of trials, what did you discover about yourself that you did not know was there? And then the return. How has the journey changed you? And what is it that you can share with others that you have learned? Super impactful exercises. And I'm sure that you came to some realizations that have really, really empowered you. The 13th century Persian poet Rumi wrote this: "If a king has sent you into a far distant land with one specific task to accomplish, you could accomplish 100 other things. But if you fail to accomplish the one thing for which you have been sent, in the end, it will be as if you have accomplished nothing." And I find this statement powerful. For me, that one thing is my purpose, my why. We are given human birth with one specific task to accomplish. This doesn't mean that you won't accomplish 100 or 1,000 things. It just means that if in doing all of those other things, you miss the one thing, it will be as if you have done nothing. Crazy. This week is about harvesting the good that the challenge came to bring us. It's about allowing our experience to take us forward rather than to take us down. It's about making sure we get the one thing it came to teach us. When our world is shaking like today, we respond in one of two ways. We either use it to take us forward or to take us down. It either becomes our victim story or our victory story. One option is we respond to our circumstances in such a way that it becomes our victim story. Our ego will make up a story about it. It will either project outward or inward, usually with a fairly significant level of blame. When we're in that mindset, it's because we're in a way of thinking about the circumstances as if it's happening to us. When we're coming from a mindset that is this dark time is happening to us, the general feeling tone of the experience is victimhood. And as long as we're a victim to the experience we're having, we actually amplify it. We lengthen it and we get completely stuck in it. Another more empowering response is to allow the experience to move you forward. Instead of your victim story, it becomes your victory story. In order to stand firm, we must stand on a very firm foundation. There is nothing outside the circle of this too can be used to move me forward. It's part of my evolutionary path. It may have a face I don't like and all kinds of things about it that are really difficult, but it cannot exist except in the circle of the greater good. It doesn't mean that we have to like it. It does mean we want to use it well, so we don't get stuck in it. If you pitch a tent in the condition or the situation, you can actually just circle around that energy and get stuck there. You may have stories that are still really alive in you. The first step to using such a story as a forward momentum builder is to turn back and look it square in the face and find a way to relate to it that is empowering to you. Okay, so what happened? You did what you did. They did what they did. They didn't do what they didn't do. That's what happened. That's it. It is what it is. Now, what are you going to do with that? You want the diamond that was hidden in it and the good that was completely seeking to take you forward. You want the awareness that that grouping of circumstances and situations was meant to bring you. The big question is, how do we do that? How do you have a mindset that isn't impressed by the circumstances? How do you convince yourself that it doesn't matter what the person has done or what has happened? How do I think in this way? How do we harvest the good? Well, the first step to harvesting the good is to neutralize the experience. The experience itself is neither good or bad. It just is. In this universe, apparent good and bad are only that. Was it better that he stayed or left? She did or didn't have the baby? Or the business stayed there or died? We all have preferences, but there really is no good or bad. We tend to charge it with all the emotions that we're feeling. Notice any negative charge you are having about even this COVID-19 experience. My goodness, and trust me, I completely understand. I have had many moments of negativity, lots of negative charging, but I don't pitch my tent there. And when we charge it negatively, like saying things like, it shouldn't have happened, I should have been smarter, all of that is resistance. It creates static in the mind and the nervous system. And in an odd way, it actually secures the presence of the challenge and difficulty in our lives because we are not able to get and gain what it really came to give us. Go ahead and schedule your pity party. Really, take the time you need to grieve. That's important. This helps all of us move beyond our attachment to the forms of things being the way that we thought that they should be. We live in a should universe, right? The second step is to look for the learning, always. Use the Franklin T squared exercise to help you identify the learning. Okay, this exercise will help you level out the experience and bring it into harmony and balance inside yourself. This is actually a really cool exercise. This was used by Benjamin Franklin to bring higher order thinking to a situation. So what you want to do is you want to draw a vertical line down the center of a piece of paper, okay? And then a horizontal line across the top. And on the left side, you want to write the elements of your actual dark night or the challenges that you have faced. Okay, and if you have one or more of these experiences, I just want you to choose the experience that has affected you the most. Okay, now write what happened. He lied, she lied. They won't speak to me, whatever. Okay, and then on the right, write the learning and the gifts. Ask yourself, how can I use this in a way in which I can be more aware now than I was then? This exercise might be a really difficult thing for you to do, but well, I know it was for me. But I want you to remember that you don't build muscles by lifting tiny weights. This is an opportunity to build an internal spiritual strength that's bigger than the external pressure of that problem. This experience occurred to help you discover and deliver more of you. Unless we have some things that look bigger than us that we overcome, we don't know we're bigger than they are. We are more than that. This exercise is going to help you so that when you think of this circumstance, what you will think about are the blessings that you have gained and what you have learned from it instead of how awful and bad it was. You must learn to tell an empowering story about it. It doesn't mean at all that you prefer it. It just means that you find a way to think about it that takes you forward rather than down. And the third step is to develop an unconditional friendship with yourself. Okay, so the first step to developing an unconditional friendship with ourselves is to look at all of our life with a feeling of gentleness and kindness, not judgment. It takes a lot of bravery to do this. If you stay present with what you see when you look at yourself again and again in your whole life, you begin to develop a deeper friendship with yourself. It is a complete friendship because you're not leaving out the parts that are painful to be with. You actually learn to embrace your whole self with love. Now, I want you to consider the words of the Buddhist monk, Pema Chodron, on developing an unconditional friendship with yourself. She says, here's the first step and perhaps the hardest. It's developing an unconditional friendship with oneself. Developing unconditional friendship means taking the very scary step of getting to know yourself. It means being willing to look at yourself clearly and stay with yourself when you want to shut down. It means keeping your heart open when you feel that what you see in yourself is just too embarrassing, painful, unpleasant, or hateful. The hallmark of this training in spiritual warriorship is cultivating bravery. With such bravery, you can go anywhere on the earth and be of help to other people because you wouldn't shut down on them. You would be right there with them for whatever they are going through. The first step along this path is looking at yourself with a feeling of gentleness and kindness. It takes a lot of bravery to do this. If you've tried it, you know how difficult it can be to stay present when you begin to fear what you see. If you don't stay present with what you see when you look at yourself again and again, you begin to develop a deeper friendship with your real self. It's a complete friendship because you're not leaving out the parts that are painful to be with. It's the same way when you develop a complete friendship with another person, you include all that they are. When you develop this complete friendship with yourself, the parts you're embarrassed about as well as the parts you're proud of manifest as genuineness. A genuine person is a person who is not hiding anything or conning themselves. A genuine person doesn't put up masks or shields. Not hiding anything doesn't mean you tell everyone everything. It does mean that you're not hiding from it yourself or afraid to look at it. or sectioning yourself off from parts of you. Your love, appreciation, gentleness, and kindness have encircled all of you. I love that. And the fourth step is celebrating the gift of you. You go through this convulsing, contracting process of your circumstance, and you are birthed into a completely new experience. You become more by means of your circumstances. For example, maybe you got a new job, you fell in love, you climbed the mountain, you closed the business, you got the divorce, you couldn't have the baby, or whatever it was. If you used it well, you became more by means of it. This is what it means to get the one thing for which you came. If you use this well, you get more of you. All right. This week's lesson is focused on supporting you in rewriting your dark night of the soul story into a story that is empowering, liberating, and inspiring. You're going to use what I talked about earlier, the Franklin T squared, to help discover the gifts from your experience. So again, I want you on the left side to write the elements of your dark night. Okay? And then on the right side, I want you to write the learnings and the gifts that you have gained from this experience. There are some. And if you don't know yet, I want you to ask the universe to show you the gifts by asking a quality question. Once you have identified the gifts from this experience or that experience, then rewrite the story as an empowering story. So for example, you can write, I'm so grateful I got released from that relationship so that I became available to meet the love of my life. Or, going through the closure of my business taught me valuable life lessons that are absolutely priceless. Okay, so make this your own victory story. Good work, everyone. Next week, we're going to be talking about an opportunity for a new beginning. The opportunity to apply the things we've been talking about thus far just gets more deeply ingrained in us as we move forward in our life. I look very forward to it. Have a peaceful week. Stay strong, stay positive, and be kind.